Welcome everyone to this week in Svelte. I am in the wind, so you will see my hair kind of fly around, but it's hot here in Italy. So pardon me, but I need my fan here. I have my number one fan next to me. Um, Welcome to this week in Svelte, episode 70. Wow, it's a lot. And today we have a community showcase, so I am excited as always. And if you have any project that you want to share with us, feel free to reach out because, again, I'm always excited when we are talking about community showcases. And also, like today, community showcase is a bit like particular. It's a fun project. But before we jump into the community showcase, let's jump into the changelog, which is the usual agenda. And I don't know if you use this website too, or like in the day to day, but it just got an update. So when I opened it, there was a banner here, and again, feel free to like go and start this repo because it's a very cool project, and it just got an update. And now this is something that I'm gonna use a lot because you can see the details of every PR, which is super cool. So you can not only see the change, but basically this guy is rebuilding GitHub, but better because like you can see it got merged, when it got merged, who opened it. You can see all the comments, all the commits. So yeah, pretty cool. Even the files, very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah. So let's jump right into it and let's see if there's something new and worth talking about. I think this is also like the first thing interesting is this. I think initially, if you were using slot and snippets together, it was pretty finicky to put them together. So now, like, it's still the same, but at least you get meaningful errors, which is very cool. This issue was so fun because it was worth, because like if you take a look at the issue, I cannot open the issue from here. It's fine. If you look at the issue, I think I can open here. Yeah. But oh gosh, spoiler for later. So I'll change log. Okay, let's go back to the to this. So if you look at this issue, new tab, and you look at the actual issue, is when you try to bind group to more than 5,000 radio button, the app gets stuck. I always find this edge case is so fun because, like, obviously, like it's a valid concern because obviously the app will get stuck at 5,000 radio button because there was a bit of slow code in the bind group. And a comment from Stalky was super fun because to do optimize indeed compare document position is very slow. Thank you, Stalky. Yeah, so this was very slow initially. Now they changed it to put it in its own micro task, so it's not blocking the main thread, and it's much more performant. But it's fun. Those are all fun issues. We have a breaking change, which is we now use structured clone inside state snapshot. Initially, it was not used, and so yeah, basically. Initially, state.snapshot we decided we should only deproxify its argument. So basically, if you did something like this, object, it's a state, and state snapshot object, and state snapshot object inside object, the second one will not be deproxified. So basically, only the first level will be deproxified. And now they're using structured clone, which means like it's a breaking change. If you were using this function expecting the only the first level to be deproxified, but now we get a more like a greater deproxification, basically. So yep, let's see. Oh, it's loading. Oh gosh, I broke it. That's weird. Let me hard refresh. Maybe let's see. Errors. Forbidden. Oh, I guess we are getting rate limited by GitHub. Ah, that's annoying. Yeah, I get we are getting rate limited. I think for this time we need to move to GitHub. So let's go to GitHub. Oh, and this is actually my full page. So let's go to releases. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna check the GitHub releases now. So where we were, okay, we were here. Allow leading and trailing comments in mustache expression. This is a very old issue, and basically, if you take a look, like actually open in new tab, if we take a look, basically now you can do something like this. And if you take a look at the number of the issue, it's very, very old. Like it was open more than 1 year ago, more than 2 years ago, and now it's finally merged. So now technically you can do this inside a mustache tag, which is cool. Like it's not something that I find often the need to reach for, but it's cool. Prevent white space merging across component boundary. White space was like it's very tricky to deal with. Detect mutation with assignment expression. This is also interesting, like skip pending block for already resolved promises. Now, if you know the await block in Svelte, it was basically up until this point, if you do await promise.resolve, it will still show the pending block for a microsecond, basically, for a microtask. And now, basically, it's fixed, which is better. Like, obviously, if you server-side render it, it's still render the promise, but the loading state. But if you are just doing stuff, it still work. It still work. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As you can see, like you are resolving a promise immediately, and even if you have these, like before, this was keeping in because like of a very slow fade, so you would still render this for a microsecond and then switch to the value, and now is not happening anymore, which is cool. This is also interesting and something that I think it was asked for a lot. Basically, now you can ignore warnings selectively with warning filter compiler. So you can pass this option to the compiler, to basically change how like the warning, to silence a warning on a more broader level, basically. So yep, that's also pretty cool. So let's say that you know that you want to always silence a warning, you can just pass a compiler option and you're good to go. Run animation in microtask, ensure previous transition are properly aborted. This is also fun. Ensure state.snapshot never errors. I think they're basically just adding, because structured clone can actually error if you pass a function. Like if there is a function in the object, it can error. Move dev time component properties to private symbol. This is just internals. this is also very, very interesting. So this was mainly done to allow Astro to also integrate Svelte 5, but this is very interesting because now you can create a snippet in a TypeScript file. This is also something that was asked for a long time, and the API is very low level. So keep in mind, like, this is not something that you should use on a day-to-day basis because it's very low level. It's basically meant for very specific use case. Yeah, exactly. Also for Storybook. So this is meant basically to help frameworks author to integrate Svelte in their framework. Says like, will it be like Storybook, Astro, and stuff like that. The API is very interesting because basically you can create a raw snippet, and then you need to pass an object, and this object will have two methods: a render method, and this is basically the server-side rendering part of that. So basically you just want, I think the actual final API is a bit different. We can test it probably. Well, actually, instead of going there, let's go to the actual documentation, because I think the actual API is a bit different. And so import, hydrate, and mount and track, create raw snippet. Yeah, so you can pass a function that return this object, and this function will take the parameter of the input as so basically how this will correlate to the snippet is, so let's try it. You can see greet dot, rather than dot svelte, it needs to be a dot svelte.js file. Oh, it's all messed up. So yeah, you want to import named create raw snippet from Svelte. And what you want to do here is basically const greet export const greet equal create raw snippet, and you want to pass a function. So just like when you create a snippet in a Svelte component, you're doing snippet name and the function here, so, and then slash snippet. So this name is greet in this case, so this will be the equivalent, and every argument that you want to take is this. So let's say that you want to take a name as input, it will translate to this. So if you want to create a raw snippet, this will be the name and this will be the name. And then let's say that you do, I don't know, p/p hello name, right? So this will be the snippet as written in a Svelte component. To do this, what you need to do is you need to return from here. You need to return an object with it was. Let me check again. I already forgot. So let's go to imports, create raw snippet. Yeah, you want to return render and setup. So those two are two functions, setup, and those functions will be called basically in this will be called during server-side rendering, basically, and this will be called during mounting or hydration. So how does it work? So basically, let's say that you can return an HTML, and the one caveat is you need to return a single element from here. You cannot return a div and a p tag, for example. So if you want to return multiple things, just drop everything to a div. So let's say that we have a div and we do hello, and then you want to render the name. Obviously, you can use template literal. This is a function, so you cannot just say name, you need to call name. So it's a function, and then you want to set up this node. It's actually the node in the DOM, so it's basically this div. And so what you can do is you need to think about what would you do to update that value. So what you would do is probably use an effect. So you can do effect, and inside the effect, what you want to do is you want to say node dot inner text is equal to hello name. And again, this name obviously is a rune, like it's a state. So this effect will actually rerun every time name changes. And so this, we created our row snippet. And so let's say rendered and hello mounted. And just to show that it's actually changing, let's also render a mat.random just to show that it's actually changing. So we created this row snippet, and now if we want to import this row snippet, we can just do import greet from greet.svelte.js. I think there's something unexpected. Oh, yeah, it's colon here. And now we can just render the snippet just like everything else, like every other snippet. You can do render, greet. We need to pass a name, so let's create a name variable like this, name, and we can do input bind value equal name. And now whenever we write something, this re-render and the random number changes because it's actually re-rendering the component. Obviously, you can never see hello rendered in this case because we are on the client. But if we would server-side rendering, that will probably work too. So that's pretty cool. A small aside on this because I think it's a pretty cool thing. Again, it's a very low-level API. If you find yourself using this in your actual application, maybe, I don't know, like try to rethink. Oh, this is also warn on quoted single expression attributes in rune mode. This, I think, let me see if we have related to, yeah, I think it's something, yeah, you can do something like these. Yeah, okay. It's a strange thing that basically the point is by default, like if you do something like this, Svelte will treat that as a string. If you pass it inside square brackets, it's actually a number. If you pass it inside the square brackets and a quote, this is still a number. And this is basically something that was like, it's very old because in the initial version of Svelte, people were using the HTML language server. And so this was a way to make IntelliSense work. Now we don't need it anymore. And that's why they are trying to get rid of that part of the code, basically. Don't add import to hoisted event parameters. Remove deep reactivity from non-bindable props. So this is also a new breaking change. So before, a prop would become reactive by default, basically, and deeply reactive. Now it's only for bindable props. So, and I think this is for the default values. I don't think is in general. Um, yeah, exactly. This is related to the old. Now you get warning for component prop value like this. In the future, they will probably want to remove that. I think speaking of these, I think like it's only talking about removing deep reactivity from the default value of a prop where you're not passing that prop. The default value was deeply reactive and now is not, only if it's bindable. Properly assigned trailing comments. Do you remember the PR that added comments in the mustache tag? That broke something. It broke the ability to have trailing comments in functions, basically. So if the last thing of a function was a comment, the whole function was not accepted as a function. Makes animation more robust to quick shuffling. This is basically like if one animation is playing and you are continually changing the state to reset that animation, now it's more robust against that. Warn if banding to a non-reactive property. Oh, this is also interesting. This is a bug. It's very new. It's a bug that Stalky found yesterday. Like we helped Mattia figure out why a specific REPL was not working, and Stalky actually figured it out. Basically, now if you pass a setter as a state, inside that setter you can actually use the this keyword correctly. Don't do it, in my opinion, because like this keyword is always a bit sketchy. Let's see. I just want to try again to go to Svelte changelog. Maybe we were. Nope, it's still broken. Okay, we can go to SvelteKit release probably. I would probably skip the rest of the thing of the release for today. Let's just see. Okay, last release is 2 weeks ago, so yeah, nothing new under the sun. So now that we have all of these, let's start with our community showcase. Now, the community showcase for today, I want to show you the website before. Let me see if I can find it here. I want to show you the website before because I think it's pretty cool. And then I will show, let me see. Yeah, that should be the website. So I want to show you this website because this will be the community showcase for today. As I've said, like it's a bit a particular one because the author of this website is actually here with me on the chat. It's Bide, and it will intervene later. So if you have any question, feel free to drop them in chat because he's here and wants to answer question. But he actually sent me a video to showcase this website. So in the meantime, I want to show you just a bit around because like it's basically a mix of Framer Motion and Shotzi, there are a lot of very cool components like these, like it's a dynamic island and stuff like that. And you can copy paste them, you can take a look. It's very interesting, but I will now make space from his presentation. So I will leave the stage and I will put his presentation on. And after the presentation, we will like Bida will be actually joining us. So if you have any question, feel free to drop them in chat.
Recently, I'm building a project on Svelte component. This is built using Tailwind CSS and Svelte Motion. So this website includes 4 major parts. One is examples, which includes simple examples. For example, dynamic island. I really like this one. So if you check this out, I hope you find this cool. I like this effect. Simple effect, image effect, div hover effect, and reveal link effect. Like you can check this out. So these are some of the examples. This consists of primer motion examples like how to use tween, duration based spring, cycling through states, drag functions. Like these are the constraints for dragging this component. I mean the box. You can say this. So the main part of the website is Luke's components and Magic UI. So Magic UI is inspired from and Svelte Magic UI is inspired from Magic UI. This is animated beam, orbiting circles, and you will find good components. I tried to port some of them. So this is Bento Grid. You can even do this. I really like this one. File tree. Yep, orbiting circles. So let me give you the small overview. This is basically an example, and this is the code of an example, but the real code exists in component usage. You need to check whether your project includes this packages. If no, then you need to install those packages. You need to paste this code into utils.ts and you need to just paste this code and you are ready to go. So let's see how to use those components. For example, let's visit Luke's component. So to use these components in your project, simply check if you have already installed these packages. So I have already created the dummy project where I have pasted this code. I have given a small info about those packages. Hope you find this helpful. So this project look like, let me show you one second. So this is the project. So to use this, simply go here, copy this part, yep, that's it. And this, let me comment this out, save it, and you can see this animated tabs here. Now this doesn't include any Tailwind CSS like animations or stuff, but let's look at some of the examples like button animated border. So this include animation. You can see this effect. Yep. So to add this, we need to simply copy this animation into Tailwind config file, paste it here, save it. Let me copy. Sorry. Copy this code here. Let me add some stylings. Yep. Now you can see this code. So you can really copy any components from Luke's component. I hope you will like those components. I mean, you will like these components. Yep. So some of the components are built using Svelte motion. For example, card reveal effect. So this is built using Svelte motion. So if you don't have this package, you need to install it. Simply copy this, paste this code here. Yep. See, you're ready to go. So these are simple copy-paste components built using Tailwind. I hope you really like this. If you find any issue regarding any component, you can raise the issue or even you can make a tweet, like I mean, You can send me a message on Twitter. I will update those components. Thank you for using these components. Uh, have a nice day. Bye.
Okay, so this was the quick introduction from Bide. And actually, Bide, let me know in the private chat if you're okay, and I can add you to the stage because we can also talk about this if you want. So I see you switched your camera on, so welcome. Welcome to
Hello,
the.
hello, hello.
So this is Bide, which is also the one that created these wonderful components. Do you? I think you sent me some specific component that you wanted to
Links. Yep,
showcase.
yep.
So
I send you components regarding Magic UI. So I recently updated the ripple effect.
yeah,
Like,
the ripple effect.
yep, and yep, this one.
Oh, very good.
This
I don't
look
know.
cool actually.
Yeah, I don't know if it's visible because I think it's very subtle even here. So I don't know if YouTube compression will will make us dirty. But in general, I think it's very like I obviously like the pioneer of this kind of component library was Shadcn UI. But I think in general, it's a very interesting approach to building a component library because like you own your components but also you don't have to waste time building every time. So it's a very interesting, and also like they are very beautiful. Like congrats to this because they're very very beautiful.
Thanks. You can check out like the text reveal and box reveal effect. Like, I hope you
uh,
like this below. uh,
Text
Like the
reveal.
box reveal. Yep. Like when you scroll, it will reveal the text.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
So it's good actually.
yeah, yeah, very cool. And it's also yeah very even easy to set up. Like at the end of the day you basically just need to do this and your uh, you have your component. Very cool.
Yep.
Very very cool. Yeah, this is the actual code that you are using.
Yep. So I
Very
tried to put two libraries like Magic UI and Luke's components. So Luke's components is mostly based on Tailwind, and some of the components of Magic UI, like 10 components, are based on Svelte motion. So
mhm, okay.
it's great actually. I love the dock menu too. You can hover over the dock menu and check that effect,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like a bounce effect.
yeah. Very cool. Like very very docky one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And recently, like last night, I added Indie UI to Svelte. If you go on homepage and
yeah.
check out the like, yep. So this includes skeleton and bento grids with
Mhm.
4 and 5 and 6 cells. And the code is way more simple. You just need to copy it, and there is no Svelte motion here. It's fully based on Tailwind. So I hope like you all like it.
Yeah, very
In
cool.
future, I will love to add header. So these are basically simple cards. Like it looks cool actually.
Yeah, yeah. Those are very cool. Like those are the kind of design that I try to replicate every time, and like all like I'm not very good designer, so if I need to do it by heart I generally fail. Like if I have a design I can pretty much do it pixel perfect, but if if I need to do it by heart just by coding
Yep.
generally it ends up looking very good very bad. Yeah, yeah, so this is very very cool. Like
The
the
bento
whole
grade is like in a trend. Like so, I thought I should add it. So these are the skeletons.
yeah the whole like the whole look and feel is very cool. Can I also ask you like what are you using for documentation because that's also very cool.
Oh, for building this project, I have only used Svelte, Tailwind CSS, and Svelte Motion, and ChatCN2.
Okay,
So I have wrote all the component by myself. I haven't used any other library
yeah,
to build the
so
documentation stuff.
even for the documentation website like, you are it's basically custom built, right?
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
I hope like everyone find this helpful and like Svelte developers can build a good website through using this website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are the kind of things that, like, if you want to build a super cool linear like website, you probably need some of those. So it's it's cool that they are available and you can just copy paste them in your code.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Bida. I don't know if there are some questions like the writing dev uh, Akash
Thank
is
you.
asking if there are any other UI libs available out there.
What's Svelte?
I think. I mean, I think.
Like as
I think.
much as I know, I have heard about DaisyUI and ChatCN most of the time, but I exactly don't know if any library trying to do this stuff, like
Mhm,
to port the Magic UI thing or Luke's components. So I
yeah.
really don't know about this.
Mhm,
But
yeah.
in future, I will try to port few more components. Similar library, to be honest. I really don't know. Like in Svelte,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's see.
And a lot of compliments. And by the way, I also added the link to the chat. So if you want to take a look yourself, it's animation-svelte@versal.app. And yeah,
From your side, should I improve anything in the website, like a documentation part or anything?
yeah. No, I mean,
Would anyone suggest?
I think it's pretty cool. I think maybe I mean I don't know. Like it's the only thing that I would say is these. There was like framer learnings, which
Yep.
seems a different website. Like it has a
Okay.
different look and feel. Uh,
Okay. I will update this.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
but
kept a blue theme for this
yeah,
because this was about a learning part. So if you click on any component like Spring or Twin, so you can learn this and you can scroll down. Or and the code is very small. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a small code to learn.
yeah,
You will
absolutely.
like color interpolation component or drag constraints. They look cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, those are very. Oh, I I throw it away. Oh, okay. So this is very yeah. Those are very cool effect, which
Thanks.
is also pretty interesting to very cool, very cool. Okay, I will probably spend time playing with this a lot. Like if I was you, I would get nothing done and just spend my day playing around with this kind of stuff. Okay, thank you, Bidep, and
Yep.
I hope you will create something new and go like join us back to showcase that too.
Yep. Yep. Sure.
Thank you very much, Bidep. See
Yep.
you around. Okay, guys. So very cool. Like I really enjoyed this thing. And now let's move to the last part of the stream, which is a tweet from Mattia, um, which is like a fellow Svelte ambassador. You probably know him. It's Joy of Code here on YouTube, and he does a lot of very cool videos, mainly about Svelte, but in general, like interesting topics and stuff like that. And you can follow him on Twitter, Joy of Code Dev. You can follow him on YouTube. You should probably already be subscribed to him, Joy of Code. And he was explaining this thing, which is also true. Like, you actually don't need to use derived in Svelte 5 unless you are doing something very computationally heavy. Like, let's take this with a grain of salt because, like, as he said, um, basically like the whole thing that Mattia was trying to showcase here is that the moment you have count, which is like a stateful variable in Svelte 5, you can use derived with, for example, count time 2, but you can also use just a function that access count. And because the reactivity is a runtime reactivity now, what this means is that whenever you access double or quadruple, you are actually internally accessing count inside an effect. So this means that there's really no reason, like let's keep it like, I want to like I quote this, but there's no reason to use derived. So in reality there is a bit of a reason, and I want to showcase it with this example. So I have a lot of stuff here. So we have the basic count here, and then we have a double derived. I'm using derived by, but it's the same, and a double as a function. So this is double as a function. Then we have is even, which is inside the derived. So in this case, it's showing if it's a variable that is true or false, based on the fact that double derived is even or not, and is even function, which is the same thing but is actually accessing double function instead of double derived. Then we have another derived, which is even derived text, which is a derived, and is even derived text, it's just saying even or odd based on the fact that is even derived is true or false. And then we have is even function text, which is, this time it's a derived, and this is calling is even function to determine if even or odd. Now, if we take a look at the console and we refresh the page, so we have obviously the chain of event to render this thing, because in the end, like, we are logging count and we are logging is even derived and is even function test. So obviously the first thing that the reactivity does is try to run this function, is even derived test, because it's the first thing that is rendered. Then it's rendering is even derived. So why it's rendering this is even derived? Because now we are accessing is even derived. So it's going here, and then now we are accessing double derived, and so we are going to the derived by initial signal. And this is because signals are lazy. So even if you run this function, like if you create this function will only be accessed when this signal is actually accessed. So if you never use that signal, this function will never run. So we've seen these, and now obviously we are rendering is even function text, and this is accessing is even function text, and then it's a function call, so it's accessing is even function is accessing double function, and double function is just logging. So we have all those three. And this is pretty straightforward, right? But now watch what happens if I clear the console and if I change count. The console situation is a bit different. Why? Because derived by rerun. And derived by rerun because it's accessing count. So it's correct. The double derived is actually changing. Is even derived is accessing double derived, and double derived just changed, so it's running again. But watch this. This function here, is even derived text, did not rerun. Why? Well, because this function here returned the same value. So that's the power of a derived in Svelte 5. The fact that when a derived value returns the same value, it actually breaks the chain of reactivity. Let's see now that in this case, actually, you can see that when we are calling is even function text, it's still calling is even function, which is still calling double function, which is obviously accessing count, and that's why it reruns. But what I'm saying is that let's imagine that you have a very complex application with a whole structure of derived values, one from the other. Using a derived can stop the chain of derivation immediately as soon as one of the values in the chain is not changing values. So that's the important bit. But there's also another bit, which was kind of discussed here, and it's the fact that while probably I tried to measure it because I wanted to give you an actual number to look at, but I was not able to do it. So I will try for the next time maybe. But the main gist is that a derived signal obviously is not just a function call. It's a bit more. It has state, it has all the chain of reactivity. So every derived signal also has a list of subscribers, a list of dependencies. So running a derived value, it's a bit more complex than just running a function. So there could be a slight performance and, most importantly, memory overhead in running a bunch of derived. So let's say that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're running a bunch of derived and you see that the memory is struggling or the performance is struggling, maybe you can try to change some of those to a function. So I still think that Mattia did a good PSA, a good public service announcement in showcasing this feature of Svelte. And actually, this is a feature of signals, actually. But yeah, and also, obviously, there's also other downsides. So, and by the way, as usual, if you have any to add to the discussion, feel free to drop it in chat because we can talk about it. There's also another bit of information that is not really showcased here. And let me create a new REPL because I think it will be simpler. Let's say that I'm using a function to derive. So let's say that I do const double, it's equal to count times 2. Now, to access this value, I need to access this value, I actually need to call this function, right? So if I want to show double, I cannot just say double. I need to say double with parentheses, and that might seem irrelevant, but it's actually a huge problem in TypeScript. Why? Let me show. So let's say that I want to do something like this. Count times 2, like instead of double, let's go back to even, for example. Well, it's not probably, like, it's not actually an example. But okay, let's try to do this. So count %2, if count %2, so is equal to 0, I want to return an object. Otherwise, I want to return undefined. It's a silly example. Sorry for this. And this object has a value property, for example, true, right? Now, if I want to access these safely, and actually probably I should be something like nested, and this should have an object value true. I mean, again, it's a very silly example. Please bear with me. So if count %2 is equal to 0, I get this object back. Otherwise, I get undefined. Now, what happens is that if I want to use this in a TypeScript file, and I need to access nested, I will probably do something like even dot nested dot value, right? So something like this. But even could be undefined, right? So regardless of the error that you're getting here, even could be undefined, because if count is not even, this will be undefined. So in TypeScript, you can like prevent TypeScript from yelling at you with an if condition. So if I do if, let's move to the TypeScript playground. It's better. TS playground. Okay. Let me open TypeScript playground there. Yeah. Let me open the TypeScript playground. So what I was trying to say is that let's say that I have this const even is equal to, and I don't even need to like declare const even is equal to even, the type of this is nested value boolean or undefined. So this is the situation that we were into basically. Now, the moment I do this, like let's say that I have console log even dot nested dot value, you can see that TypeScript is yelling at me because even is possibly undefined. So how can I fix this? I could use something like this, but this will like change back to like I will log undefined. Let's say that I never want to log undefined. The thing that I can do is I can check if even. So TypeScript will actually know inside this if even. So once I checked for this, so as you can see here, the type is this thing or undefined. But if I check the type here, it removed the undefined. So this is basically TypeScript being very smart and saying, okay, you checked for it. I don't need to like worry of it being undefined anymore. But now let's change this to a function that returns this. And if I try to do so, if I try to do if even, and if even here, it's still complaining. And the reason for this is because, rightfully so, TypeScript cannot know that between this line and this line, the function even has not changed again. So it cannot prevent this from happening. So let's say that I have a function even that is like this. Let's say I have let count is equal to 0, and I can say return count %2 equals 0 undefined, or we say nested and value there, right? True. So this is the same function basically, but now let's say that we add this, for example. What this does is that if we log, it will log once undefined and once nested, once undefined and once nested. So just to show you, if I really try to do console log even multiple times, and if I try to run this code, you can see that once it runs undefined, once it runs this, once it runs undefined, once it runs it runs this. So in this case, the code that we wrote before, it's actually possibly, like, as you can see, TypeScript is right, because this will error out if it was not smart enough. So if I run this, I'm getting an error because even here it was defined, but here it was not. So this is an advantage of using derived over a function, and it's the fact that derived is actually a value and not a function anymore. So if I use $derived.by here instead of just a function call, then even is actually a value, and now I can properly, safely change this. So that was it. As usual, 55 minutes have passed and I did not notice. So thank you everybody for sticking up. Again, I always invite you to join Svelte Discord. You can go to svelte.dev/chat. Join our Discord because there are a lot of discussion. There's a lot of interesting question. So feel free to join us. I see Beat that probably wants to say hi to, so I will bring him
Hello,
back.
hello, hello.
If you want to say hi to everybody, and I'll see you guys again next week. Thank you.
Bye.